Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and this is our found footage live that we've been talking about for a month and a half.
Heck yeah.
For those of you who don't know, I posted a list on my website of just a list of 31 found footage movies, and the original goal was to get through as many of those. Bless you, Tasha. Was to get through as many of those as humanly possible, and try to find some new stuff, because I think everybody here is a fan of found footage in some way or another. Yeah, so we're going to go around the room and introduce ourselves very briefly, starting with Tasha.
I'm going to go first. Tasha, obviously. One half of Horror Bestie Breakdown, and editing, and dog pictures now, because I have one. And yeah.
Horror enthusiast.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Obviously. Reader. Do lots of that.
Avid reader. All right. Tom, you want to go next?
Sure. My name's Tom Reimer. I'm an author of mostly New England-based horror. I have 4 books out. The Glowing Trilogy and Malevolent Nevers, most recently, a gothic horror novel set right here in Massachusetts. And I'm a lifelong, or I say not lifelong, but lover of found footage horror films ever since I snuck in to see the Blair Witch Project when it was in theaters. Ever since then. So happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you could come. That's awesome. All right, Brandon, you want to take us up next?
All right, I'm next. Hi, everybody. My name is Brandon Applegate. I'm also an author. I wrote the short story collection, Those We Left Behind and Other Sacrifices. You can find that on Amazon if you want to find it. And I write lots of other short stories that sometimes make it into things. And I'm also a found footage enthusiast. Blair Witch, I think, was also my first one, but I think that it really hit home with Paranormal Activity, and then after that it was all kinds of stuff like Mungo and everything else. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad you can make it too. It's awesome. I'm excited. All right, Zach, take us away.
All right, I am Zach. Most people probably know me as Orb on Twitter. So I am a likewise found footage enthusiast, and I'm going to have to imitate Brandon here. I started with Blair Witch when I was probably too young to actually watch it. Probably peaked with Paranormal Activity. I am an attorney by day, horror enthusiast by night. Basically, I've started writing horror again, doing my own stories, submitting them all over the place. Working on novels right now. Starting to actually write reviews. Wrote my first and posted it tonight. So getting into the whole community and aspiring. Looking forward to everything.
Yeah. Thanks,
Hi, Bigfoot Society. I still need to join and get my card, my membership card.
Yeah, Jeremiah's awesome. Thanks, Bigfoot Society. Glad you stopped by. It's awesome. Yeah, so when I set out to do this, I've said this before with other projects, I guess. I always do things that I think are going to kill me. So when I started this plan, I was like, 31 movies in a month. Piece of cake. I got to about day 5 and was really regretting life. So yeah, I think I guess I'll just jump in and talk about some. So the list is still on the website. I'll probably leave it up for a little bit longer after this goes. After this is wrapped up. But I thought it would be fun for the ones that we got through that we've seen off the list or that were specifically on the list to talk about ones that we thought were duds versus ones that were really good. And so I found that I think 2 of my favorite ones were vampire related. So one of them was called Afflicted, which came out in 2018, was phenomenal and very unsettling. And then the other one was, what was the other one called? Just Vampires, I think. A videotape of this episode was found on April 5th in the gates of the main cemetery.
This escalated so fast.
Now we need the note that says, "Thank you to the families of."
there were 2 movies on this list that were like Zoom call related.
Yep.
So this
Yes,
has
there
the-
were.
this
That's
has the
that.
potential to go downhill fast.
Yep.
Oh,
That's
God.
true.
You didn't sign me up for that, or you didn't warn me.
Like, I know.
Yes, like
I know, right?
that's a little
Um,
asterisk in the fine print there.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
by the way.
I just left it out on purpose to see what would happen. It's fine. Yeah, and then I think if I had to pick one that I didn't like the most, it was probably, what was that alien one, Tasha? The McPherson tape.
McPherson tapes.
Have you guys did everybody see that one?
Yes.
Are we all in agreement that it's terrible? Most of us.
That was one of my duds too. Yeah.
Okay.
So funny though. Oh,
Okay.
I love the little alien people.
Yeah, it was something for
So-
sure. Yeah.
So I admitted publicly that I didn't see all of them, but I did see a couple of them that were alien related. And
Yeah.
were any of the alien ones good? Because everyone that I saw was a bit of a stinker.
Yes.
Okay.
I liked Skinwalker Ranch.
That
Okay,
one was
I didn't
really
get to
good.
watch
That's
them.
better. Yeah.
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 I've also like researched the crap out of the actual Skinwalker Ranch. So that
Yeah.
one and Devil's Pass were both kind of my favorites, mainly for that reason.
Yeah, those were really. I'll be honest with you; it's hard to narrow down like the ones that are new favorites. But I think I just didn't expect the ones about vampires to be very good,
Yeah.
and then they were.
I
So
mean,
kind
Afflicted was I'd seen that one some years ago. That is a surprisingly really well made film.
Which
it
one?
is Afflicted.
Oh, yeah.
that's
Afflicted.
great, yeah.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, I really liked that one. There are definitely a couple of moments that kind of like, ooh, caught me off guard that were really well done. That I really, really liked. But and we kind of talked about this a little bit before, but like being that there were 31 movies on the list, there really weren't that many that sucked. Like there were some that were kind of mediocre, but there really weren't that many that were just god awful to watch.
I mean, it kind of helps that I think found footage is something where, a lot of aspiring filmmakers can be creative and really do a lot with it. You don't really need you don't really need a big budget for it. You just need like some good writing, good acting, clever camera work, maybe some effects here and there. But there's a lot you can really do with it. On the flip side, it's very easy to get wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anyone can make one, then you're bound to have more than a few duds. But it's also really great to see people are making films that maybe otherwise never would have had a chance because it just doesn't do very much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely there.
Like there's one which wasn't on this list. Am I allowed to talk about one that
Yes.
wasn't on this list?
Yes, there's no strict rules. We'll get to it. Like, it just whatever happens.
Has anyone ever seen there's one called Bad Ben?
Well, I've heard of Bad Ben.
I
Bad
haven't
Ben.
seen
The
that
trailer-
one.
Like, literally
turned me off.
one guy in like I don't know if it's his actual house or a house he rented out, films this whole thing with like a couple of cameras, and it's funny, but it's also very well done. So
Huh. I haven't heard
I
of
have to add
take
that
a
to
look,
my
take a
list.
look.
The trailer scared me off of Bad Ben. I'll be honest, but I'll have to go back and check it out. I mean, that's a glowing recommendation at that rate.
It's a whole series. I haven't seen them
Yeah.
all, but there's like 7 of them or something.
Oh, that's crazy.
I've got two voices. Like you can just like log on Tubi and just plug in just found footage and just do a random just randomly pick something. Like it might be good, might be bad, it will be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
Even the
And
bad ones are entertaining somehow.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
whether
and
it's
some of
horrible
the
acting
ones-
or whatever, it's somewhat entertaining at least.
Yeah, and some of the ones that are not great still have things that I really liked about them, or I could say, oh, this part was really well done, or I really like this part of the story, or you can kind of break it down. What was Zach, do you remember, what's the name of that one that you recommended kind of a while ago to me? Where they go to that church and they're trying to, oh my gosh, what is it called? I can't remember what it's called. It's like these two guys, these filmmakers these two guys that have never met. Their job is to go to this church and figure out what is going on because this priest is complaining about these weird things happening.
Was it Borderland?
Yes, that's the one.
Borderland.
That one was really good.
That is a really good, really underrated, and shockingly dark movie.
Very dark. The ending is crazy. Has anybody else seen that one? It's called, when I looked it up on Tubi, it was called something else.
Yeah, it has a different name. I knew that. I haven't seen
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I had first seen that one years ago, and it presents as a religious horror and all that, and you find out you're in like a really folk horror.
Oh yeah. I think what was the I was trying to think of what I don't remember what it's called on the new one, but I or the title change or whatever. But that one, I think when I looked it up, I thought I had the wrong thing, but it ended up being really good. The ending is nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it if other
Yeah,
people,
no, don't. Yeah.
but it is a pretty wild film.
Dark and disturbing.
Yeah,
Yeah, right up your alley, Steve.
Never here.
Not here.
We don't do things like that.
Right up your alley. It's even got some grief in it for you.
I spent this weekend hanging out with guys like Brian Keane and Raph James White. Nothing will scare me again.
You're like, yeah. So let's talk what are favorites? What are favorite found footage movies that you guys love?
From this list?
In general, yeah, you can do from the list or yeah.
Well, from this list, my favorite was The House is October Built.
Yes.
I love that. It's not the first movie it's done sort of like thrill seekers going to a haunted house. I mean, have you ever seen Hell House LLC?
Yeah.
Same thing. Pretty awesome. But this one is like a bunch of different haunted houses. And I think one of my favorite things, what I think is the scariest about found footage is you can almost trick yourself into thinking that it's real, even though it's not real. And that's like something that could actually happen. Like a bunch of crazy people sneak into a haunted house and cause a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And it's like, it just reminded, like I said, when I was a kid, I saw Blair Witch, and the reason I was first drawn to this kind of movie is that as a kid, the whole thing around Blair Witch was like, is it real? Is it not?
Yeah.
Real? And so anything that sort of allows you to trick yourself a little bit like that, I really love. So I loved that on this list. I think that was my favorite.
I feel like the Poughkeepsie Tapes on this one did an excellent job of that too. Like it felt like you were watching a documentary, and
it was also like really. I think it did. It freaked me out, but it's also like really depressing.
Yeah, like with I can't remember what her name was, but the girl that he kidnaps and tortures and everything else. Like
the main girl. Yeah.
Yeah. That was. There was actually twice I think you messaged me and you were like, "This isn't real.
This is not real, right?"
Yeah, they nailed that.
Which is something that would be very easy to dismiss as just mindless schlock, but the care they put into it is surprisingly well done.
Yeah.
Like the bit where he's crawling out of the box, in the mask and crawling backward. That is easily the creepiest part of that.
Yeah, cringing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the part that got me the most, and I don't think this is a huge spoiler because this is a fraction of a second, when he lifts that damn tabletop up and she's under it, holding I was like, what the fuck? That had me so, I was like, that was when I think I messaged you and I was like, this is not real, right? Please tell me this is not real. Yeah.
That was creepy.
That was a crazy one. Yeah, that was a good one.
I'll go a little bit of a different direction. One that it's been on my to watch list for about 100 years, and you guys made me watch it finally, was Troll Hunter.
Yeah.
That was cute.
It was it. Yeah. It was a favorite just because I liked and it wasn't particularly scary. It's not like a dark or scary, it's more fairy tale I really enjoyed the scene when they were in it had a real Ghostbusters feel to it because there's
yes,
there's
I
special
agree.
equipment for trolls and you have to I really enjoyed the scene when they went into the dark woods part of it. It was halfway through the movie, and that big tall one of them, the one that they didn't expect, comes kind of lumbering out of the woods, and then they all have to hide behind trees and stuff. That was killer. I enjoyed
It was good.
Yeah,
It was super cute.
Fantastic movie, honestly.
Yeah, that one was a little slow for me to begin with, but I definitely think it had a payoff. Like I definitely got to the second half of it and was like, oh, okay, I can like this. I think one of the things that made me laugh, because this is like totally something I would do, like before they see a troll and then he says troll, they're like, did he just fucking say troll? Like they turn around and look at each
comes
other
out of
like,
the wood and he's like, troll. Although my favorite was when he had like and I don't want to spoil the whole movie for everybody, but
yeah.
when he did like the suit of armor that was like made out of buckets and stuff, and had to like walk out on the bridge to get a shot, and then just get slapped across the bridge
when he's going for the blood sample.
Yeah,
blood sample. Yeah, that's right. That one was a bit of a gem. I had heard a lot of really good things about that one. I just that wasn't one I had seen. That was why it was on the list, because it was one I'd heard of and hadn't watched. So that was a good one. What was it, Brendan? Did you have any duds, like one or two that you got through that you hated?
Yeah, I had a couple.
If you said you watched a couple of alien ones, I think I already know what some of them are.
All right, so Alien Valley was a movie.
I did.
Sort of.
Yeah.
There was celluloid. There were credits.
There were credits, yeah. I think the best part of that one and the worst part of that one simultaneously is when they go into that barn and that rubber alien hand comes down and gets the guy. That was something.
But it wasn't that much better. I don't know if you saw it. It wasn't that much better than the McPherson tape.
Really? No, so I didn't get to watch it.
It was like, it looked like they dressed up a bunch of kids in alien costumes and
like they were gonna go trick or treating.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody should have to watch that one. Just
isn't that one like a lot older? Isn't that?
It is. It's from the 80s, I think.
89, I think.
Yeah, 80.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a question about Alien Valley.
Okay.
And I want to see if you guys are similarly befuddled. So there's they spend a lot of time at the beginning of it talking about the cattle mutilations and how every bone in all of the cattle's body, like every cow that they find mutilated, it seems like it's been picked up and dropped from a great height, which I always assume to be like, oh, they like picked it up with their UFO and then they dropped it when they were done with it, right?
Yeah.
The premise of this story is that a UFO crashed at some point in the past and they're just letting this alien live on this land and they've cordoned it off. Who's picking up the cow? He doesn't have a UFO anymore.
That
Like, what's he doing?
giant alien rubber hand.
You gotta like throw it
claw
way in the
machine
air to get it to do that.
Yeah, that one was a mess. I didn't care. And I will say this about the McPherson tape. If they had just not shown the aliens, it actually would have been a decent movie. It wouldn't have been horrible if they hadn't shown the little children dressed up like aliens. It really could have been, not too much, it would have been better for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, the family interaction and stuff was good in that one.
It was. I didn't mind any of that.
When he brings it into the house, it's just like, oh, bro, come on.
Yeah, I think some of these low budget sort of movies, they almost need to not show the monster.
Yes.
Less is more.
If they can.
Yeah.
Really.
That's
the
so
only
true.
way to
Good
get
job.
away with it. If you show the monster, it's over. Like, and I
That's
think
so
that's part of
true.
the problem with
That's not
Alien
a real
movies is because you kind of have to show it at some point. Almost.
Yep.
Yeah.
One thing that actually was really clever with that, there was like a whole show of found footage called like Lost Tapes. I'm not sure if anyone saw. Where most of it was pretty hokey, but sometimes they've had pretty good effects. Like, they would always, like every different episode would deal with like a different cryptid and like some kind of lost tape. And like I said, like the effects weren't good, but they were pretty good on like what they showed and what they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, if you're found footage, you probably have a lower budget. It's probably best to leave it to the viewer's imagination and let the nothing be the scarier.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's one thing. Oh, go ahead, Tasha.
Oh, go ahead. Fine. Usually I'm not a less is more person. Like, I like things to be wrapped up nice and neatly, that kind of thing. But there were some in there where I definitely feel like I think it was Embedded, where it looks like Planet of the Apes gone wrong.
I can't. Yeah, that one was rough.
But
That
the
one
acting
was so bad. Really?
Oh my god, the acting was just
Yeah, the acting was bad. Yeah, it felt
my
like
God.
it felt like a lot of those though. I feel that way, like
Yeah.
that's, someone's college project or something. But,
Right. Yeah.
and
The
I get
acting-
that vibe from it, but I was entertained with the. Yeah, I was entertained.
Entertained is probably a fair thing to say. I sent Tasha a video. I was like, I was laughing so hard I couldn't even get through what I was trying to say. But there's like a scene, and I don't even remember the guy's name, but his eyes, like he comes forward in front of the monster, the whatever it's supposed to be.
yeah.
And like he's like standing there, but his eyes look like his eyes are so, it's just the silliest shot. And the monster, for whatever reason, just stands there for like 10 seconds and then hits him. And his eye, I don't know. It was just the silliest looking thing.
Yeah.
Like it was so silly. And but the
It's sort of
acting
like Harry
is
and the
what messed up.
Hendersons,
Yes!
gone wrong.
Yes.
They
Yes.
I don't think I have ever seen that level of redneck in a movie.
Oh my
And
God.
it was just it was a lot to take in.
It was a lot. It was an over the top stereotypical, like it
Yeah.
was a lot. I agree.
Yes.
That one was yeah. I didn't
Speaking
care
of
for
bad
that.
acting, Death of,
What you got, Brandon?
Death of a Ghost Hunter.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Oh,
That was like a high school project. Like
I feel bad because my favorite's going to be like one of the good ones on the list, and like,
Dude, like
no.
the story was just screwed up enough to
Mhm.
where like I've never seen like that dark of a storyline be executed that poorly, and it made it just like that much more horrible.
frustrating. If they had
Yeah.
just taken like the backstory and turned that into a movie, it would have been horrifying.
I
Right.
think it would have been
Like-
way better. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole oh my god, it felt like a high school project, a high school film
Totally.
project.
Totally.
And it was painful.
There were actually several characters in that movie that I'm pretty sure were just the actors from inside the house that like in the cutscenes in the backseat. I'm sure they were just the actors from In the House, but with like a fake mustache and a wig. Like the cop from the end of the movie, I'm pretty sure was the camera guy.
I wouldn't be surprised,
So they just
honestly.
put a mustache on.
Yeah. That's what was the name of the other one where they had to like try to stay in the house for like 21 days?
21
days.
days.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah,
Yep.
21 days.
That was
That
pretty
one
good.
was dreadful. I hated
Yeah.
that one.
I don't know.
That
Hey,
one just-
that one had its moments. Like towards the end when they're hiding under the table, I was like, this isn't the worst thing. But
Yeah.
It wasn't the worst, no.
yeah.
And no, it definitely wasn't the worst, but it did not make like a top. Let me
Yeah.
rewatch this or tell people to watch this. Kind
There
of.
was a big stretch in the middle where I'm like, so y'all just lived in the house for like 10 days and nothing happened?
Right? I mean, I was
Yeah.
voting for all of them to die from the start. When they like chased
They were
that lady into her
awful.
backyard, I
Yeah,
was like,
they were
what are
awful.
you doing? That's
Yeah.
horrible.
what did we think
Yeah.
of, like, what did everyone think of Incident at Loch Ness?
Oh,
That's
God.
one of the ones I didn't finish. I got most of the way through it though.
I fell asleep during that one.
I went in knowing nothing about it, and I was just like, is that Werner Herzog?
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
he doing here?
Yes.
And they built that one up so much. Like
Yeah.
you get this feeling like there's going to be some huge blowout, and then it's like, wait, it's over?
I know.
There was another movie that had a pretty big. Who was it? Hollow Grove. Did anyone see Hollow Grove?
Yes. The older guy.
Yeah,
What's
he's
his
from
name?
the guy. He's from Aliens.
He's from he's from
2.
Aliens. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
He's the android in Aliens.
I couldn't believe he was in that. When I got to his first scene, I was like, no way. I looked it up because I thought maybe I was crazy.
And it had one of the kids, guys from Mighty Ducks in it too.
Oh
Did
man.
it? I don't remember. I didn't
Yeah.
catch that one.
I didn't either.
I forget his name, but he plays one of the kids in Mighty Ducks. He was in that.
How
too.
the mighty have fallen.
Yep.
I
Very
mean, what
needless to say.
been in way worse films than that.
Yeah. I was surprised. Because usually like with a low budget, like you typically expect to not really know anybody, or like if you have, you've only seen them in like one thing. You're not thinking like a big franchise or something, that's got like a following.
I prefer not to know anybody because it pulls me out of it a little bit.
Yes. Yeah. It seems more
especially
real.
in found footage, which is all about immersion. So you're like,
Yes.
is that Dean Cain or something?
I mean, it's one thing I think Blair Witch did so well. Like, I don't think any movie like since then has captured such a perfect viral marketing campaign for that film, where let's portray it as like they're actually missing, and they're all relative unknowns, so nobody knows who they are, and like it's
so true.
Right? Like if you tell me that I don't know, Leo DiCaprio is
right.
like, he's not.
He's missing.
Like we know exactly where he is right now.
Yeah.
Dating a 21-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure after I saw Paranormal Activity, I actually spent time like Googling, is this a real thing?
Right.
That one, I saw Blair Witch when I was in like 6th grade, but
if that demon was real,
You couldn't Google anything back then, yeah.
If that demon was real, I would write a thank you letter for ridding us of Mika.
I kind of liked Mika.
Dude, he's the worst. I'm thinking about this. I was watching this like before we started this whole thing. I saw Paranormal Activity was on Netflix. I was like, oh, let me try that again. It's been years, and I turned on Paranormal Activity, and by the halfway point, I was just like, can we murder Mika early? Because he is the biggest
everything from those movies on, like every horrible thing that happens, just play a game where you subtitle it Mika's fault.
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely fair.
Everything that happens is entirely his fault.
Yeah. I agree. I think it is better when you don't know the actors.
Yeah.
I think it's better. With Blair Witch specifically, like you said, and it's crazy because not only were these people that you didn't know, but they looked so damn ordinary. Like there was nothing Hollywood movie. Yeah, like they just look like people you'd see at like the supermarket or whatever, and that works so much better for found footage than the people that you know.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like one of the things that I think makes found footage so effective, when they do it right, it's basically like an apocalyptic log. It is a record of something terrible that happened.
Yep.
Right.
That invites you to piece together it will show you stuff, but it's very rare that a good found footage movie will, explain everything for you.
It doesn't spoon feed you
together. Which, of course, the Paranormal Activity films decide to become some gigantic franchise where it's like, okay, I draw a line from everything to everything to everything, and that makes it much less scary, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, there's actually a good one I remember seeing. This was like from 2011 called The Tunnel. If anyone's ever seen that one?
No.
I'm pretty sure it's public domain, and it's this old. It's an Australian film, and I'm not sure if anyone's watched Black Sails, but like the guy who plays Long John Silver is in it, like before he was actually got his big break.
Yeah.
It's actually like a really effective one of these like people getting lost in the tunnels like below a subway, and there's something living there.
That sounds horrifying.
Surprisingly well done. Like, you never get a good look at the creature, but you see enough to be like extremely freaking disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
There's something
it's delayed. It is an Australian film. Didn't you say it was?
There's something that sounds similar to that in one of the newest VHS movie. If you've seen any of those,
I haven't seen that one yet.
Is it
90? That's I think that's one of my favorites. But go ahead.
Ratma? Is it Ratma? Like Hail
Ratma?
Yeah.
Yes. I haven't seen the Tunnel one. You said it's just called The Tunnel?
The Tunnel from
We'll
2011.
have to make a list after this conversation.
I'm pretty sure it's public domain.
Okay. So VHS 94 is probably my favorite one.
It was pretty good, yeah.
I think it's on Shudder.
It is, yeah.
It's on
It's
Shudder.
the Shudder original.
Yep.
Yeah.
The VHS ones I think are so effective too, because like it combines the found footage with like a cosmic horror story. Like, what the hell is making those tapes? What is like creating them? What's going on when people look at them? Like, it is like it is a good, you know, anthology series.
Although I would
I like
argue,
it.
I'd argue that maybe the creators don't even know what's going on. They just
They
sort of like
definitely don't.
made this
Yes.
movie and they just keep making them, and I don't know if there is an answer.
Yeah. So Steve and I actually had this talk on an episode that he and I did where he talked about how sometimes one of the things that happens with horror movies is they try to extend a story too long, and it would be better if that some stories could be told better in a shorter time frame. And that's kind of what VHS does. It takes all these like crazy ideas and it makes these like 20-25 minute segments of story, so it doesn't last long enough to be the worst thing you've ever seen, you know, like. And that's pretty effective. I like anthology stuff in general, but I liked the new one. The VHS 94 was really good. I don't remember the name of it, but my favorite one is definitely the one with like the crazy doctor. That was like my favorite one.
That was good.
Oh, that was a good one.
There's another, and I think you watched it as one of your, your viewers' choice was the movie Host, which
Loved
is like,
it.
is it like 80 minutes or something like that? 70 minutes? Like
It's the
really,
length of a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
this. And that's really effective. At first I was like, that's too short, but it worked.
It was perfect.
Host absolutely rocked. I mean, it was such like a creative film from like, you know, the pandemic era where it's just takes something that everyone needs to get used to and like spin on it. Like, Host is just like, I'm hard pressed to find like a genuine flaw with it because it's just so well done, so compact, so like really scary, and just really, really effective the entire way through.
Yep.
Yeah, I love Toast. It was like one of I think I'm right in saying this. It was like the first full-length movie to come out that was done completely in quarantine.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, because all of those people were, they were in their own houses. Like, yeah, those, I don't know. I think, yeah, that one was good. That one was really effective. That one had me like super on edge. I liked it.
What was the other one that had the Zoom? Was it the Dark
Unfriended?
Tapes? that did-
Unfriended.
Unfriended is one.
There was an anthology one with like cam girls.
Oh, yes. Dark
Is it
Tapes.
Dark Tapes? Okay.
Yeah. Now I
Yeah.
remember.
That
Probably
was
probably my favorite on that list is Wreck.
Oh, that's good. That's
Ooh.
great. Yeah.
That was good. That's the one I watched last night. Yeah.
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 Really good.
Yeah.
I
So
haven't
has
seen the
everybody
second one.
seen Quarantine? The American version?
Nope, I didn't catch that one.
I think.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I saw that one first. And then, so I actually had not seen Rec until this list. And I will be honest, it totally ruined it because it's literally like scene for scene the same movie. It was so
Really?
hard to get into it because I had already seen Quarantine and I loved that one. It was like, oh, yeah.
Rec is great.
Yeah. I can appreciate it. I just feel like I missed out on not seeing it first, I guess, because it's like, it just, yeah.
So because I think I actually asked you, I was like, can I just watch Quarantine instead then? Does Rec end with the same like weird dude that's been living there?
Do you want me to tell you how the movie ends?
I guess you probably shouldn't do that on live, huh?
Don't do it on live. I'll text you after.
Message me later.
We are in 2007. We are far past the expiration date of spoilers at this point.
I guess that's probably true. We're like, hey, you remember that part in Troll Hunter when?
Right.
I would say that a movie is closing in on a decade. Like our conversation can.
That's probably true. I know. I guess people are so sensitive about spoilers. Like,
Yeah.
Same movie except the directors know nothing about creating things.
Fair.
When they're right, they're right.
Yeah, I think it's hard when you see a remake first. But see, normally, like from a story perspective, like usually they change something. But like she literally was saying the exact same stuff that the other girl said, and I was like, this is going to make it so hard to get through this one.
I don't even like. I'm not opposed to remakes. Like I'm genuinely not. Like I actually think that.
No, me neither.
Like I think there's a much larger amount of good remakes that people actually give them credit for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they open up like the market to a lot of they open up the original to a lot of people in the market because let's face it, a lot of people don't go seeking out foreign films, even if they're gems, and there are, like I said, a lot of good remakes. Quarantine was not one of them in my opinion.
Oh, I loved it. I might be biased. Doug Jones is in that, and I'm like, I idolize him. He's like, no one higher.
This
Honestly,
one from
one
Labyrinth, right?
one of my
He
all-time
played the
favorite.
fawn and the pale guy.
One of my all-time favorites, I think, did something like really clever with found footage in a sense. Has anyone here seen Behind the Mask: Rise of Leslie Vernon?
No, that's on Shutter though, isn't it?
Yes. I don't want to say too much, but that one, like, one of the biggest things I think found footage needs to do is give a reason why they're filming, and they present this like shockingly funny like mockumentary about like a budding slasher villain.
Okay.
And basically there's a guy named Leslie, he's Leslie Vernon. That's the guy. He's like created his own backstory. And the camera crew is following around. They have the camera on him, and he's interviewing them about basically taking on the slasher tropes and conventions, like talking about how he's doing cardio because he's got to keep up with everyone who's running for their life, looking like he never breaks out of a slow walk. About how I need to I'm going to center on her because she's the final girl, she's the virgin, she's going to be my nemesis. I have my own Ahab now. What's his name? Guy who plays Freddy Krueger. I totally blanked on his name.
Robert Englund.
Robert Englund.
Oh my god! You can revoke my horror credentials right now.
I'm just gonna remove you from the conversation. I'm just
It's been a long day. He shows up and he's he's like his nemesis now, and it's and then through the whole thing, Leslie is funny and intelligent and witty, and he's bonding with the crew. And then the actual killing starts with the cameras rolling, and it gets actually really surprisingly, it turns into a really good found footage slasher film. I recommend this one
really good.
so much.
It does sound funny.
Found footage and slasher together.
Together, peanut butter.
You touched on a point though that is super near and dear to me though, which is the found footage has to explain why they're filming. I don't think found footage has to explain much, but it either has to have a plausible reason why that camera is rolling, or it needs to be good enough to distract you from the fact that there's no reason for it.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's why the documentary style ones work so well. Because like Lake Mungo, Steve, that one. Yeah. Lake Mungo is a really good one that's done like that. I really liked the vampires one that is I think it's just called Vampires. From Deborah Logan, all of the ones that are done like documentaries are much better at being immersive, I think, for the viewer, because you're like, oh man, this is real. It's good. Did everybody see Found Footage 3D? Who got through that one?
Yep,
anybody? Yeah.
I'm most of the way through it, but you interrupted me with your live, so
the live to talk about found footage, Tasha. I'm just saying.
We must discuss found footage.
So Found Footage 3D, I'm a huge advocate for this movie because it is a found footage movie about found footage movies. Yes. That is the premise. And one of the things he talks about actually is in the beginning, he talks about the fact that there's that's something that's a question that you have to answer. And I won't give it away for people who haven't seen it, but they have a reason that they have to film. And it's but they address all of those weird questions of well, if you do, why do you do it this way and what works and what doesn't? And it's just very, I don't know. I loved that movie. When I first saw it randomly on Shutter, I think when it first came out, I was like, I love this movie, but it does that. It breaks down a lot of those things. And it was really, really good.
I really want to see it in 3D.
Yeah. The title of that movie, gives away that they know exactly what they are, and and they embrace it. That movie is a lot of fun if you haven't seen it.
It is. It's kind of like the Scream of found footage. It's it's very self-aware.
Super meta. Yeah.
Yes, very meta. Yeah.
So one of them that I've been wanting to talk to you a lot about ever since we had a Twitter conversation the other day was the last one on the list. Where?
Okay, so full disclosure, I forgot that I rented it and I didn't get to see the ending, but I got most of the way through it.
Okay.
I messaged Tasha and I was like, oh my God, I didn't finish it because I only had a 2-day rental and then I was out of town for the weekend and I totally spaced it and I was not going to rent it again. So Okay, because you didn't like this one, right, Brandon?
I did not care for it because right out of the gate, it did something that it threw a wrench into it really bad, which was, so at the beginning of the movie, there's the family that are for some reason frolicking in a field. They never really explained why they're doing that, but I assume they're camping. And the dog runs off into the woods and the dad goes after the dog, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the whole time you get this very appropriate found footage perspective. It's the mom. The mom has the camera. She's filming her kids. She's filming the dog. She's filming
The normal.
dad.
Yeah.
But when the dad goes to the edge of the woods looking for the dog, we switch perspectives all of a sudden, still kind of shaky cam down footage to the perspective of the werewolf, at which point I'm going, does the werewolf have a cell phone? Like, is that what's happening here? Because it totally threw off that bit of it. And then
that's fair.
Non-found footage stuff. So like that part of it really threw me off. And then when they chucked a rubber bird at the back of that poor woman's head, that
okay, so when you posted about that on Twitter, I was like, what movie is that? Like, because I hadn't gotten to that one
yet.
Yeah. And I was like, what movie is that? And you were like, I'm not going to tell you. And I was like, okay. And so I finally got to that scene. And I remember, probably because I was prepared for it, I remember being like, oh, come on, that's not awful. But I guess, it was kind of bad.
It looked like they threw a painted tennis ball at the back of her head. Seriously, it was such a rubber bird. But
I mean, so many of these movies, though, they have a reason for holding the camera for as long as they do, but they say why they are holding the camera, but they hold it for way too long. I mean, some of these they should have dropped it like hours before, and they're still holding it, running for their lives. I'm okay with it, but that's
it's like you get to those, you always have those scenes where they're like, get the camera out of my face, but it's this same asshole doing this like the whole movie. I do get that's like the one trope that I'm like not a big fan of, is always having the person that everybody hates by the end of it because they won't put the camera down. I'm like, well, we want to see what happens, so somebody's got to hold the camera.
Mika from Paranormal Activity.
At the very least, like, just have some, like, the GoPro helmet or something, like, like, it gets a little, like, there are definitely movies that have justified it. But it's a little few and far between. Like, okay, Ganjiam, The Haunted Asylum, I could totally believe they would be filming the entire time.
That's great. Yeah,
I need to watch that one.
I'd probably butcher that. I apologize to anyone.
It's actually scary, that one. Yeah,
that one is terrifying.
Fucking movie.
That's one of my that's one of my favorite, and they do this in there's another Asian film, and I forget where specifically it's from, called The Eye. I think it's Korean. Where there's a scene in the elevator where there's a ghost in the elevator, and you just see this low shot on the floor and the feet that hang and the turn and the moving towards. They do it also in Ganjam, and that's one of my favorite gags. Oh my God.
So good.
So
that one was so good. And too, like, so I felt like that one was kind of reminded me in the beginning of Grave Encounters, because you've got this like
say that,
like it's very and I mean that, and I love Grave Encounters. That's one of my favorite ones. But I loved the whole like YouTube content creating angle, and like the and I won't give too much away, but the like staging a couple of things at first, and then when shit gets real, they're like, that's not good. And there's a couple of sequences, that turn that you're talking about, Brandon, and that scene where that camera it shows the camera that's really close to that girl's face. And
what's that noise that she makes? That
she's just like whispering very quickly, like really fast.
And that thing that stands in the room and just like paces back and forth with the woman.
God, it was so good. Tasha, you got to see that one.
It's on my Shutter watch list, which is growing every day.
Every day. You
need
to move that to the top.
Sorry.
Oh no, I was just telling Tasha she got to move that one to the top of the list.
Oh yes, please do.
That's good.
Grave Encounters. I had so I went and visited a friend of mine that I hadn't seen in a long time, but he's like my movie watching friend. So my wife can't do horror films as much as I do, but I have a friend that does,
I can't
And,
believe you haven't seen that, Steve. You've got to go. Everyone, anybody that sees this video ever has got to go make sure they've seen this movie.
Yeah. Is there a scarier found footage horror movie than that one?
The Ganjam? I don't think so.
I don't
The
think so.
closest I would say would be Nori, the curse.
Oh,
That's
That's more like existential dread kind
Right,
of movie.
it's
That one,
not,
like,
like,
drags it out.
scary.
You know? Yeah.
You know what was scary? I don't know if anyone has ever seen The Gallows. Takes place in like a it's like a high school
It's like a
theater
school,
company.
yeah.
Yeah.
And a
that's
girl
pretty-
died on the
That's pretty scary. Yeah.
So I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't super impressed with that one.
It's not as good. It's not as good as Ganja.
But I did like the story for that one, and I thought the acting for that one was pretty good. But sorry, I didn't mean to jump off rails. Go ahead, Brandon. Sorry.
I digress.
No, I was
digress.
going to say is that me and this friend of mine, we were going to watch Grave Encounters, and I had seen it before, but he hadn't. And we were just sitting around watching TV for like most of the day. So I was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to watch like an entire season of Ghost Adventures, which is that just
Zach Bagans,
Zach Bagans and his whole haunt me, bro, that whole vibe that he gives off, which is like my favorite. It's so cheesy. And then we're going to watch Grave Encounters.
Grave Encounters.
So well, it pairs so well.
Yeah.
Has anyone actually ever seen The Last Exorcism?
Yes. That's the one done by Eli Roth.
Did Eli Roth do that one?
I don't know. I thought.
Is that the one that has the guy from Better Call Saul in it? Like he's the priest or he's the main guy. He's a.
I think so. Yeah, I think we're talking about the same
Which
one.
sort of pulls me out of it again. You have that big,
because you know who he is.
big name actor, but yeah, I can't even name him. But
I don't think so. I remember. I think like the biggest name I remember from that is Caleb Landry Jones.
okay, I'm thinking of a different one.
It's like the guy, like there's like it follows a they're basically the main guy is a reverend living in Louisiana who does exorcism, who he performs fake exorcism on people because
that's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, that is that guy. Yep.
Yeah, but I'm wrong. It's not Eli Roth.
Oh,
I don't know what I was thinking, but anyway, I have seen that one. I also saw the second one.
There was a second. Oh, yes, there was.
But if the first one was The Last Exorcism, what did they do in the second one?
It's The
It's
Last
like
You're
Exorcism,
like
Tasha,
obligated to
because
make a sequel if you call your movie The Last Something. Is like also my favorite movie title of all time, and this is off the subject of found footage. Favorite movie title of all time is A Haunting in Connecticut 2: Ghosts of Georgia.
yes,
Brilliant.
Somebody skipped geography class.
somebody got lazy, copy and pasted, and was like, "Here, this will make it different."
They realized it too late.
Followed by American Haunting 2: Tales of Argentina.
Yeah, right. That's just. Oh my god! I have seen the last Exorcism though. That one was pretty good. I remember liking that one. It's been a minute since I've seen it though.
I mean, I really think like found footage works really well when if you do it right, but also when you kind of pair it with like another genre, like something like folk horror, religious horror.
Yeah.
You're able to get like when you insert it into kind of like a pre-existing mythology or a pre-existing sort of like a pre-existing situation. Like one reason I like Borderlands, without spoiling anything,
It's horrifying.
is when you're dealing with like folk horror, which I've told voices is like one of my all-time favorites.
Yes.
You're dealing with something dark, something that has been there. Oh my god, that dog is adorable.
Oh my Journey! Stop hogging time. Sit down.
Journey can be there.
He's needy.
We love you, Journey. You are perfect, and you are like Journey is participating in this conversation. But
I think the Journey is square. We all have a square. Where's Journey?
The idea
That's
of
right.
in a sense is it kind of goes very well with the idea of filming. There is nothing that can save you, nothing that can help you. Like the old creatures of the land are there. They are hungry. There is nothing you can do. And all you can do by recording it is to just witness it. And throughout Borderlands, you kind of like it kind of gets in the whole impotence of like the new religions versus this very dark connection to this ancient
Yeah.
land and what is resting there. And the found footage makes like kind of, I don't want to use the word exacerbates, but like brings that out so much more, and it makes it such a much more effective movie than if it wasn't.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I love that stuff, man.
I think so I left this up because I actually am familiar with Marble Hornets. Has anybody else seen that?
No.
Yes.
No,
Slenderman
okay.
scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, so it's really
Slenderman I have enjoyed.
yeah, it's really good. It's really good. Slender Man is absolutely terrifying. Like
Yeah, he
the
is.
concept of Slender Man is terrifying, but that was a really well done one. I really liked it a lot. I came in a little late to that game, but I really like it a lot. That's a good one.
Also, kind of off the found footage track, but on with the folk horror. I watched Shudder's documentary on folk horror and like the origins and stuff yesterday. It was like 3 hours and 12 minutes, and it was like the best spent time. And I don't know how long. Like I have a whole page full of books that I have to read now, movies I need to watch. Like it was just really cool seeing them get into.
Yeah, you sent me a picture, and I was like, "That's the rest of your life."
Yeah, yeah.
So-
It's gonna take forever to get through it.
Yeah.
But it was
I will like, recommend you like some great folk horror stuff. I just posted like my first review of like one earlier, and Gemma Amour's White Pines is just
yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't
I-
read that one yet, but that was one you said was really good.
Yeah.
I'll have
I
to take a look.
I digress though. Like found footage would actually be like, a very
Sorry.
interesting- to do in like a literary form, I would say.
No, I'm sorry. So Tasha talks to me a lot. We talk a lot, and we do our other stuff together. And I digress is something that I say religiously.
All the
I
time.
say it after every
All
single tangent that I say, like all the time. Like she wants a shirt that says "I digress" because I say it so often. So you saying that just got me so tickled because I'm like, I'm not the only one that says it.
You're not alone.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh and like interrupt. It's just.
Oh, you're fine. I was just thinking, like, found footage is something I think that is also very difficult to do in the literary form, like much more than any sort of a lot of other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like, I know it's been done, and I know I've like read stuff with it. I just can't bring anything in mind like right now.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
Gabino Iglesias and Andy Call are doing a found footage short
I saw
horror anthology.
Yeah.
Okay,
saw
I
that.
love Gabino Iglesias as like a person and a writer, so I will like totally happily check that out.
Yeah.
And Brandon,
Yeah.
the book
Oh,
that
yeah.
you recommended to me, Head Full of Ghost, that you
Oh,
said
yeah.
that had some,
I'll
No,
try that.
that's a found footage style. Yeah.
yeah,
To some degree anyway. And then
yeah. You said it had some elements.
yeah. It's definitely like a story that's being told by somebody in a different context about a tape that exists. Or a
Yeah.
TV
Okay,
show.
right. Yeah.
I would also make an argument for House of Leaves.
Oh, House of Leaves is definitely found footage, or about 50% found footage, and
Yeah.
the rest of it is like
I didn't
weird
know that.
boxing memoir. But yeah,
That will not be one Angel adds to her list ever. Like, that's way too much. I'm
so the way that I read it, and I've seen other people read it this way because I'm not like I don't know. Maybe I don't have the college degree for House of Leaves, but but I'll read the parts that correspond to each other. So I'll go through the Navidson tape
okay.
from front to back and just skip all the digressions, and that works okay. But I'm sure there's some context I'm missing by doing it like that.
Something controversial yet brave.
Oh,
Dracula is technically a 19th century found footage novel.
you can
Okay.
make an argument for almost anything epistolary, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very
Huh.
true.
Dracula is that, so that works. Yeah.
Dracula, Frankenstein,
Frankenstein,
the great god Pan.
Which
Oh,
is one of the scariest friggin' things I've ever read in my life. But
Great god Pan is fucking terrific.
yeah.
I don't know
Absolutely
what
love that story. Okay, yeah, we're having to talk later, voices. I'm gonna be like saying, like, okay, here is the great god Pan. Here's why you need to read it. Get on it.
that is. Get on it.
I've read a lot of horror, and most of it is either fun or like mildly spooky, and once in a while something actually makes me uncomfortable and scares the hell out of me. And The Great God Pan was one of the very few things.
Actually, there is actually one that is a really good found footage novel, I would say. Adam Neville's Last Days.
Ooh, I like Adam Neville, but I haven't read that one.
That is a really good. It's basically a found footage movie in book format. Like basically, there's a cult from the 1970s. The cult ended in like a bizarre murder suicide in Arizona, and the whole novel is about like a wealthy guy's hired a documentary crew to retrace the cult's footsteps, and it's like very much them like piecing like everything that happened together.
You need to send me that name so I don't forget it.
Absolutely. I am available for book requests after the show.
I'll be here all week. I have to say, like, before I forget this thought, because I've never watched so many found footage movies like consecutively, I did not realize how overused the glitch is.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
So much.
It got to be a little rough. And of course, I think the first one I watched was the Dark Tapes, and the very first bit that they do with, I mean, I like the twist in the story with the husband and wife that were saying their place was haunted, but that
was the first one, right? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't use the glitch as your only scare tactic. It has to be used at just the right time and just the right amount of times for it to be effective. Because that one, when that's the only thing that happens, I can't get behind that.
I'm trying to remember which one it was that I watched where I was like, that doesn't even look like how cameras glitch. Like, I know what you're talking about. But
it probably was that one.
I think it was Alien Valley. I was like, the glitches were pretty constant in that one too, because it happened every time the alien would show up. And then, it was that thing where I was like, that's not what cameras do when they glitch.
Yeah, no. And that's another example of it being used as a scare thing instead of it having making sense for the lens flare of footage. Exactly. Yeah. I think what was the other one I wanted to see, which if you guys had seen or got to this one, Devil's Pass. I know Tasha and I saw that one. Did anybody else get to see that one or had already seen it?
That might be the only one I didn't see.
Oh man,
that's a good one.
Was it really good?
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Was that one streaming, Tasha? I can't remember.
No, that was Amazon Prime.
That was an Amazon. So I did rent it, but it was worth it. I actually really, I think when it started getting towards the end, I was like mad, like crazy texting Tasha, like, you gotta watch this one. I'll give you my Amazon login. I was like, you gotta watch it.
It was really good because that's another one like Skinwalker Ranch because I love watching like alien documentaries and all that nerdy stuff. That was another one where I've seen episodes on it, and the original story behind it is just so like jacked and up in the air. Like you just have no idea what happened. That it was really cool to kind of see that translated into kind of another documentary feel with a possible explanation for it.
And and this one touches like a multiverse of sorts. Like it gets to a point where it starts to try to explain other subgenres of horror. It was really good. Like I really liked it a lot.
That could be fun.
One that I think was like a little bit of a victim from hype backlash for me, honestly, was probably Cannibal Holocaust, which might be like the other example of found footage.
It's early.
I heard so much good about it, but I didn't really vibe with it, honestly.
No,
I think that's on my Shudder watch list. I'm trying to watch like older movies and like get into some of the classics. And stuff,
Cannibal Holocaust is rough. Like it's rough, especially if you know a lot of stuff about it.
Stuff,
it's really bad. Like as far as it's
rough.
Yeah, it's kind of
It's kind of like a little bit of a, how do I put this? Kind of like a little sleazy, even by 70s Italian even like 70s Italian horror film standards.
Yeah. So the guy that did, for anybody who doesn't know this, the guy that did Cannibal Holocaust actually came from the porn industry. And because the horror world isn't taken as serious as a lot of other genres, it was an easy way for people to get out of other things they were doing and kind of get their feet wet into something else. And so it just it's just an interesting to know all of the stuff that I know about it that has nothing to do with the actual like movie. It's crazy to think about that was his previous endeavors, and then going into this, it's just wild. It's wild. So
Good to know.
I'll think about it then.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Like probably easily the most controversial aspect is the fact that like they actually killed real animals to make the film.
Yeah, and sometimes they killed more than one because they didn't get the shot they wanted.
No.
Oof.
Yeah. On the plus side, we probably got a lot of rules and laws out of it. I don't know. Like the guy that was making, there was a scene that was so convincing. He had to prove that someone wasn't murdered. Like they went to court. He was arrested.
Oh, I remember that part of it. Yeah, I've heard
Yeah,
that.
like it was so convincing for its time that they literally thought somebody died.
Damn.
What about Deborah Logan? Did everybody get to see that one?
Deborah Logan was so
great.
good.
That's really good.
Had everybody already seen that one? I had already seen it.
Yeah, I'd seen that one. That one's sad too. I mean, obviously, also sad, but
yeah.
Really good. Another mockumentary, right? Yeah.
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 That was a really good one.
How about, has anyone ever seen Creep? And Creep?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Duplass is so good in that.
Yeah, he's great. Similar to what you were mentioning, what was the name of the one you just watched on Shudder, Zach? With
the Leslie Vernon.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, it's a little different, but it's he refers to himself as is he a serial killer or something like that? And he wants someone to make a documentary of him. Great concept for found footage.
You know the actual bit that I find like the scariest part of that movie, honestly? It's not him in the mask. It's not him like, freaking out. It's the bit when Aaron gets a call from his, sister.
Yep. Yeah.
And like she begins telling him like, you need to get out of that house right now. Like it just sets in that something is so terribly wrong with Joseph. Like we already knew it was, but like the way whoever plays his sister, I don't know if the actress was named, but the way she sounds, it's not even concerned, it's resigned. Like the idea that she has gone through this so many times that it doesn't register as much anymore, save as an obligation. I found that surprisingly effective as horror in ways I'm not even sure that like the Duplass brothers intended.
Right.
Yeah, I wasn't. I didn't like Creep.
Creepy.
Creep didn't hit for me. I was like, oh my God, why? And then I learned there was a second one. Yeah, it's so Tasha, you haven't seen this one. Brendan, you haven't seen this one.
No.
Creep. So the short version of like what it's about is it's about this guy who hires someone to come film him because he's dying of some type of sickness and he wants his stuff filmed for his family, supposedly.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and then but there's like it's very so I did a social media review on this like when I first started my stuff. And one of the things that I learned about it that I'll be honest really made me dislike it even more was that there was like no plan with this movie. They just filmed whenever they felt like it. I'm like, oh my God. So I just was like, I invested and they didn't. I was so mad.
Though, have you guys ever seen Netflix has a documentary series called The Movies That Made Us? Did you guys watch any of those?
I've seen, yeah.
It's popped up.
That made us, yeah.
So there's one about the movie Friday the 13th, like the first one.
Yeah.
And that was exactly the same way. Like they barely had a script. They knew like who the killer was.
And that's it.
And that was it. But they just had a bunch of teenagers in an abandoned summer camp, and they kept like running out of things to film the teenagers doing at the summer camp. Absolutely wild.
I never knew that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't know it until I watched that. Yeah.
They had just like the basic outline.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I started watching because I got sucked into the documentaries and stuff on Shudder. They do, I think it's called Behind the Monster, and they go through like the popular killers and stuff. Like with Michael Myers, I didn't realize that he was in the credits as The Shape.
The Shape.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I was like, seriously?
That's a good one. Yeah.
There's so many little things that I'm like.
Yeah. But apparently in the script, that's all he's referred to as. He's not like that. That's what all is. Yeah. whenever
I
he's.
think we all need to admit something though. If we're talking about Halloween, Dr. Loomis is not a very good psychologist.
Right.
Failed.
So
Let's
bad.
address the elephant in the room.
3 years, boy, before I just totally gave up on him.
Yeah. There's Shudder just started season 2 it comes out this week on Thursday of Cursed Films. That's another really good one they have. That's a really good one.
Shudder is killing it right now. Just like
I know.
Yeah.
every single week, there's great stuff. There's movies like original content, old movies, documentaries.
There's shows. Oh my God. There was
boy.
a show, they only did one season, but I was like super obsessed with it. It was how I knew what I wanted to do for like the rest of my life. And it was the show called The Core. And it's this guy that interviews and talks to all these people in the horror world. So like makeup effects, they talk about movies, how they did certain shots, how they, do stuff like the angle of a table while a family's eating dinner and how it creates unease. And it was such a cool ass show. And he just got to sit around all day and talk to these people about how they make horror movies. And it only had one season, but it was so good. And it's a Shudder original called The Core. That one was really good too.
I'll find that one too.
Okay.
Yeah, I just watched Nosferatu, the original.
Good
the
for
first
you.
time. Wow.
It was like surprisingly scary. Like I feel like I didn't give weird stuff enough credit because I'm just is it really going to be that scary though?
It's
And that
scarier too if you know, like the guy Max Schreck was actually kind of a weird dude. I mean, he walked around and talked about method acting. He became
the
that
role.
character.
He became the character. Yeah.
There's a movie about Interview with. Is it not?
Shadow of the Vampire.
What is it?
Shadow of the Vampire.
Yeah, you got I think John Malkovich is in it, and
Willem Dafoe as Max as the look.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Literally translates to fear in German. You might as well enjoy it.
That's a good one. I think that I keep seeing, I don't know if anybody else has seen these, but I keep seeing this ad for this new streaming service for horror. It's like called Scream something. Has anybody else seen that?
No.
Yeah, it popped
And I
up.
keep
Greypox,
waiting.
right? Is that what that is?
Maybe I just keep seeing it and I just keep thinking like I haven't heard about it, and in the community I feel like it may not be quite where it could be, because the thing is just starting out. But I was just curious if anybody else had heard of it, because Shudder is the shit. Like I love Shudder. I will use it for so many things. Like it is, and Tubi. I'll be honest. I know Tubi's everything, but like Tubi is a gold mine for horror movies.
Yeah, I didn't realize
discovered it because of this. It's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and it had so many of them from the list were on Tubi. I loved it. No, I Tubi's awesome.
Yeah, like we were saying, like the documentary Shudder like puts out is like horror noir. Like, The Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched was great. Horror Noir was terrific.
Horror Noir was really, really good. Yeah,
I just need to watch that one.
yeah, it's hard to get through it all.
Yeah, it is.
What's it called? But Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched just like had a terrific number of them. Behind the Monsters though is just
That's
fantastic.
a really good one.
Yeah, I'm still working my way through that one.
Chucky, honestly, like the Chucky episode is one of my favorites. The Candyman one. Chucky is one of those series where I've just become more and more positive on it as like the days have gone on. How like just it keeps trying to do something new, and I think that's not nothing. And it's like had a shocking amount of staying power.
Yeah,
Like
dolls, man, they just get people.
Yeah.
That's true.
Dude, I haven't
They
watched
do.
the Chucky movie since I was like 10. I don't think. Oh my
That's
God.
when they were the scariest. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Then he became funny. Then he became like this like
Right.
relatable character. You're like, I would probably say that to those people too.
When that movie came out, there was like an actual doll called like My Buddy or something like that.
I remember the My Buddy doll.
Yeah.
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 And so like I remember that. That's why that movie was scary for me.
No thanks.
Yeah.
That's true.
It must be interesting, to have to like actually see that movie for like the first time, where you're like not supposed to know Chucky is alive going into it, and it's like actually something of, like a foreshadowed twist as opposed to just being like completely well known now.
Yeah.
It's like, look, this isn't horror per se, but I have like just one movie I wish I could have gone into blind, it would have been seeing Dark City on the director's cut rather than the stupid fucking theatrical that ruins the twist in like the first opening seconds with Kiefer Sutherland reading the narration at gunpoint.
You're
This
really
came
angry
up.
about that.
That one.
This came up on something. What were you just talking about this on Twitter? I feel like this just came up.
Maybe. Like, you know, I won't get too much into it, but like, you know, Dark City, it's a great little like sci-fi horror.
Somebody said to make sure, I think it was you. I think you said like make sure when you
Yep.
watch it that you
You
don't watch
watch
the that's
Because
right.
there's,
Yeah.
there's like a whole twist to this movie, and the original cut, like the theatrical one, Kiefer Sutherland gives like a monologue and a voiceover that
Uh-huh.
ruins all of that.
Oh.
Like in literally the first 2 minutes, the director's cut is about "Hello, Journey."
Hi, Journey.
Journey
So
is
neat.
very inspired by keeping movies unspoiled for people.
Yeah. 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 Well, I think I definitely, one thing I think that I like, this is I say this all the time, my hill that I will die on. Found footage is the best subgenre of horror. I think it's so unique in and of itself that, and we talked about this a little bit earlier about how like it really gives way for new talent, new creators, new actors, new effects people, everything. And it's like literally anybody can do it. It's
Yeah.
just, you know, it's like, and I remember that being one of my, so Blair Witch was my first one as well. And then Paranormal Activity was probably my second big one. But I think that it just is one of those things that like, I remember seeing the Blair Witch and being like, one of the things that made it so good was I could literally do this in my backyard. And talking about seeing less and it being more in a found footage film, you know, you see nothing in the Blair Witch, like nothing.
Yeah.
Just little stick figures in the trees. That's all you got.
That's it. And the moving on the tent, like we could get together right now and remake that entire movie. Like, and granted, it wouldn't be as effective because we don't have the marketing that they had, but it was, everyone knows who we are, that we're probably alive. So, but
And
it
you
was,
have to count on me to act? Oh my God.
well, you can do the hands on the tent. Does that
I'll
work?
do the hands on the tent. That'll work.
I got the squeaky chair.
I can definitely lumber and clumsily bump into things. I'm good at that.
Like Brandon, like just like, you know, oh, there's the stick man. Just
I know. Yeah. Blair Witch is a good one. I really like, I just have such respect for that movie. It's
Love
just,
that movie.
it's
There's
so
just honestly, I think one of my favorite parts of that movie is when they are interviewing the townspeople about like the legend. There's one that just stuck with me. It's when like that one woman who's like talking about it, and she has that great line, "I believe enough not to go up there," and she's talking about like her son begins crying and like starts trying to like put his hand to her mouth. It's just such an effective little just the little things about how they go out of their way to create this mythology behind it without ever like really explaining it.
Yeah. And everybody saw and experienced something different because there was also the person that was like she's covered in hair and like there's all these different things because like nobody had seen it. Like no one knew what the hell they were talking about. They just were like, well, this is what I heard.
Did any of you guys see because they did the newest one that was just called Blair Witch.
Yeah, where he goes looking for Katie, I think.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm not Katie. That's
Yeah.
Paranormal Activity, whatever the girl's name is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they
Heather.
trying to get Katie a medal for killing Mika?
Yeah, I did. Did you like that one, Brandon? The one Blair Witch?
So I did.
I thought it was
But
okay.
I
Yeah.
understand also that that's a bit of blasphemy
Oh, yeah, just like a little bit of blasphemy.
because of exactly see the thing you see the thing in it, but it's just like these glancing shots, and I think it worked just right for me, but I don't think it worked for anybody else.
Yeah. No, I
Rewatching
kind
it.
of liked it. I kind of liked it just because it was a little nostalgic. But I
Yeah.
think that one of the things they did was they added too many effects. So
Mhm.
like that was one of the things that made. I'm trying to keep my dog from nudging my arm. It's not working. Gross. Okay. But like it wasn't as effective because it was a little more not a ton, but they just had more effects.
Well, and there was CG in it. For
Yeah.
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 So like the being sucked up into the air and like I just
Yeah.
What I actually read, by the way, was that like the thing is actually not supposed to be the Blair Witch herself. It's actually like one of her victims. So it might have been
The Blair Witch.
the filmmakers were just kind of like, well, no one went to see the movie, so we're not going to tell you anything else. But come on, guys.
Yeah, it was okay. I liked it.
So they kind of implied that it was supposed to be like Ellie Kedward or something, and the Blair Witch is like supposed to be much older than that.
Oh.
That's cool.
They actually made like a Blair Witch video game a while back, where like they take
I
it
was
out.
playing that recently. Actually, it was pretty good.
I
Yeah.
didn't play it. I couldn't play it. It scared me, but I watched somebody play it. That counts. I'm familiar. I watched it.
I'll have to look it up.
It's
I
by the
wouldn't
same.
play this
I
one.
think it's by the same team that did Medium.
Oh, okay.
It's a new video game.
It's new. It's just like 2 years old, or a year and a
Yeah.
half, maybe 2 years.
So was it on like Sega Genesis or something?
No.
Throwing it back.
Okay. So yeah, so it came out in 2019, and I was right. It's the Bloober team. It's the same team that did Layers of Fear and The Medium.
Okay.
Okay.
Speaking of being sucked into the air, you guys all watch Skinwalker Ranch, right?
Yes.
That scene where he's out in the field checking the camera and he like gets sucked back scared shit out of me. I can't believe he survived it. Like I really kind of wish they had showed him landing just so I could see like how he lived.
Did they just set him down?
He floated.
He seemed fine. That one was really good. I liked it. I think, and you know why I think some of the scenes that had the aliens actually in them, I think it was very reminiscent for me of Signs. Like the way that they chose to show things very slowly. That's kind of what it reminded me of. It was just like these little moments here or there, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh shit! Like it was good.
Yeah.
I liked that one.
Like, I mean, honestly, I just that just reminded me. I would love to see like more found footage werewolf films. Honestly,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
that would have like a real like. Just imagine, a mix between like The Howling done as a found footage.
So who all got to see Monster Project? Anybody?
I saw that one.
Did we like
Yeah,
that
was a
one?
good one.
I did.
Yeah. So Monster Project isn't exactly a werewolf, but it's got a skinwalker in it, and he is badass. He's like my favorite. So good.
He's basically a werewolf.
He is, but they
Yeah,
do
pretty
skinwalker lore, so it's a little different.
Yeah.
But he's the werewolf monster for the story,
Yes.
and so I love that one. That's one of my favorite ones. There's some acting issues with a certain character, but I really
It's like
liked
a
it.
great twist at the end, though. Like that
Yeah,
one, I didn't see that
liked it.
coming at all.
I liked that one. That's one of the ones I always recommend to people in general, not just found footage, but like because it's not one that a lot of people have heard of. A lot of people haven't heard of that one, but it's really good. And it's about these YouTubers who fake monster and paranormal supernatural encounters for a YouTube channel. And I guess the main person decides, well, let's just send out this message that will take people who are real monsters and interview them for the channel. And they get 3 monsters. They get a vampire, a skinwalker, and a girl that's possessed. And it is so I think for a found footage movie I don't know who any of these people are, it was really good.
There's like a subgenre in found footage of nowadays of these YouTubers and webcam.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of those out there nowadays.
Yeah.
You think of some of the ones I'm thinking of, but Unfriended. There's another one I can't think of. It's
Ganji is another one.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, there's a lot.
And that one
Unfriended.
works because that's one of the reasons that like you don't have to explain why they're doing the camera, because content creators, like myself excluded, become assholes sometimes for their content. Like they will do anything. Someone's in the comments. No, it's like, but no, like it's true. Like they will do anything. They're disrespectful. They'll just go into these buildings without permission. Like all of that to me is super realistic because they really do act like that. We see it all the time. Like that guy that went to the suicide forest, Jake something. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know. What you're talking about.
Yeah, like him or Logan Paul. I can't remember which one with the.
No, you're right. I'm sorry. You're right. It's him. Yeah. So he went and like was taking like video. He's an asshole. So, but yeah, like that's what I'm talking about. So I like that part actually because I think that makes it more realistic. Because I think that's how people really are.
Yeah, that's actually interesting you mentioned because like also on the found footage note, I remember it uses found footage aspects even if it's not one itself. Sinister, if anyone's seen that one,
I love Sinister.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
where basically the directors bring up that people were not allowing for the main character to be selfish and irrational. Oh, why isn't he just doing this the moment he finds the tapes? And he's like, because he is a flawed, selfish asshole, basically.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah. No, you're right. He was looking for his next big break, and he would put himself and his family in any way to get there. No, that's so true.
And let's face it, those scenes with that footage were the best parts of that movie. When you just hear the
So
rattle,
good.
the old,
Oh yeah, they could have made those a movie all on their own.
and
They
yeah,
could.
Hawk in that movie?
ruining the movie in the fucking trailer, by the way.
That's true.
I hate
What'd
it when
you-
they do that.
What'd you say, Tom?
Is it who's the actor in that? Is it Ethan Hawke?
Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke. Yeah. And yeah, I liked that one. We lost that. What happened?
Ruh-roh raggy.
Yeah, I liked that one a lot. Sinister was good. I think I remember. It takes kind of a decent amount to kind of make me pull away from something I'm watching. But the last one, the yard work tape,
Oh yeah.
that one had me like
Yeah.
so messed up.
But
Welcome back.
sorry about that. I
Ta-da!
shuddered for a second. No pun intended.
Did you get so excited you just accidentally closed it?
I was just saying that it also reasonably follows a movie with Vincent D'Onofrio is usually better than a movie without Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah.
Edgar. He'll always be Edgar from Men in Black.
Yeah.
Often not applicable to the last Ring movie, but for the most part.
Oh,
Yeah.
the actor suit.
That's right. Forever.
How he didn't get a nomination for that movie, I'll never know.
I have no idea how a human being can accurately act like they are somebody else in a suit that looks like him, but he's the only person I've ever seen do it. Like he just doesn't.
That's a bizarre talent. Yeah.
Yeah.
He absolutely nailed it.
Let's not forget that man has started his career in Full Metal Jacket, and he's still doing stuff,
Oh,
including
so true.
including great horror films to this day. Well, and great and not so great horror films to this.
Yeah, that's true. Both.
Just
Yeah.
ever look, I will just say this at least for Rings. At a certain point, the director just gave him the script and just said, "Go nuts, do
Whatever you want to do.
It was
Yeah.
literally the best part of the
Freeze.
film.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go around and everybody say their number one favorite. I'm going to go first so Brandon doesn't say it first.
From the list or
No, ever. This
overall.
one that you just really, really love. If somebody says, give me one found footage movie to watch that makes a statement about the subgenre that may make me love it, or because you love it, what is your number one pick?
So it doesn't have to be the list.
No, it can be anything that you've seen.
Okay.
So mine is definitely Gone Jim, mostly because I walk away uncomfortable from plenty of horror movies, plenty of found footage. This movie was legitimately scary to me, legitimately scary. And it was the first found footage movie that I had seen in a long time that I not only loved, but was scared of. And it's a really good one. So that's my number one favorite. That's the one I tell everybody they need to see if they haven't seen it.
I need to get to that one then.
Yeah, you do. Tasha, what's your number one favorite?
I'd probably have to go with Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
The very first one I ever saw was Blair Witch when I was in 6th grade. So as an adult, the first one I saw was Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one that just sticks with you and gets under your skin.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, Tom.
I'm not going to count Blair Witch because when I saw that, it was a different lifetime. I will say, for me, probably Hell House LLC.
That's such a good one, and we didn't talk about
I
it.
know.
Oh shit, we didn't even. Well, let's talk about it now.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
here's why I love that movie. Because I've gone into a lot of these haunted houses, during my lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, even as a kid, even as older than a kid, I remember, thinking what if somebody snuck in here and decided to play one of these characters?
So true.
You never know. It's just a scary concept to me. Not that that's what happens in that movie, but
Yeah.
Right.
I love. I know what it feels like to be in those like dark places with actors. Who are kind of weird, some of them. And that movie. That's kind of why I also liked the Houses at October.
Houses October
Not
Built.
quite as much, but I did like those two. But the Hell
Yeah.
House LLC movies, I could watch. They could keep pumping those out, and I would keep watching them.
Yeah.
I actually
yeah.
just watched the first one for the first time 2 days ago. Was it 2 days ago or was it yesterday?
It was yesterday.
Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
And I tried watching the second one today, and I had a hard time getting through the beginning, and then I got busy at work, so I just stopped. But yeah, that one and like in Houses that October Houses that
Houses
October
Built.
They're different.
they-
One's more supernatural in Hell House, and then
One's
October is like crazy people.
Yeah.
You know,
when that clown like sneaks on the bus and gets footage of
Oh,
them
yeah.
sleeping and posts it and everything. Oh my god.
Yeah, for the houses that October built. Hell House was one that I hadn't seen until recently either. And I think may have actually been part of why I decided to do this in the first place. Because I was like, there's so many of these I haven't seen. And like it keeps coming up in conversations. Like, you know, Brandon and I talked about them one-on-one. I've talked about them with Zach. I've talked about, it keeps coming up in conversations. And I was like, there's so many I haven't seen. Hell House was really good. I think my only like major complaint was I felt like parts of the ending, not the like real ending, but the part leading up to the basement was so built up.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah,
and it was like I felt like with the whole like the direction they went in was like an easy out, and I was like, damn, like just missed it by like, but it was really good up until that part.
The thing I like about Hell House LLC, and it's something that it's a favorite trope of mine actually, and I'm kind of just discovering this right now because we're talking about it. I love when a movie like this leads up to some big event that happens in front of a boatload of people. Like I love the fact that there's like at the end of Hell House LLC, there's like people in line to get into the thing, and there's people actually going
trying
through
to like,
and they have to like get out, and people are wondering if it's if this is just part of the ride or if something's happening. And I love the big group event that happens at the end.
Yeah.
I feel like that contributes to making it feel more authentic too. Like by bringing in these bystanders that don't have any idea what's happening, it's like,
yeah. Well, and you also see things like that in real life. You see these overwhelming things that happen in groups, and people die or they get hurt because there's in the way. They get like stampeded. Like,
Yeah.
So
it might be an element of claustrophobia in that for me too, but
it's unsettling. No, I agree. Yeah, Hell House is a good one. I have not seen any of the other ones. I've only seen the first one. Yeah. So Brandon, what was your like number one?
Oh wait, no.
Am I next? Lake Mungo, easy.
Oh, I should have known you were going to say that one. Damn, I thought I was thinking for some reason.
It's Mungo or Ganjam, honestly.
It's hard.
And Roy's like they're a little bit tied.
Yeah,
and then
that one is good.
I'm gonna have to like pick something like that we haven't mentioned yet. So I got like the basic guy here. So you know what? There is one we didn't talk about that is actually very dear to my heart. Relatively new one, Antrum.
Oh, that's really good. I saw that.
That is probably my favorite. That is actually like a surprisingly like very good and actually like really unsettling, scary as hell film.
What is it called? Say it again.
Antrum, Antrum. It's like poses. It's like a mockumentary telling the story of a cursed film called Antrum, which is about like a film that doesn't exist, and every time it's been watched, it may or may not kill the viewers.
Yeah.
Oh, it came out in 2018. It's on Tubi.
You're doing the same thing as the Blair Witch with it. Like, is it real? Like, sort of marketing.
I'll have to check that one out. I haven't seen that one.
Well, I've seen the. It's been suggested to me by the algorithm a couple of times. I need to go actually watch it.
Yeah. Lake Mungo is definitely one of my favorites too. I just saw that one at the end of last year for the very first time, and I was like, I felt like I was part of this family. Like, I felt like, and I'm like, I know Brandon and I specifically have talked about this already, but like that movie, because it's done documentary style, it makes you feel like you are in mourning, like you are going through this with this family. And it was like one of the most effective movies like that I've seen in a really long time. And I know it's older, but it was a really good one.
My favorite thing, it's subtle. It's not too much, so it's a ghost story, right? It's a bit gothic in that way.
Yeah.
But I love that it's every character in that movie, you go into it with a very good idea of who you think they are. The daughter, the psychic, the neighbor, the dad, the mom, the brother. Yep. You go into it with an extremely good idea of who you think they are. And over the course of the film, little pieces of that just get sort of worn away or peeled off. And you see this sort of horrific secondary reality that was riding just underneath the surface the whole time. And the movie kind of mirrors that, because you also end up with this is a ghost story, so we're going to see footage of a ghost, and then at some point during the film that's pulled back and it's like, nah, it was all pretend, and then no, it really kind of wasn't like that. And so you just get kind of that layers pulled
roller coaster
effect with that. Like Mungo is a masterwork.
I really like that one.
It's all about grief and about, oh my God, it's just such a fantastic movie. It is genuinely, like, I don't think there are many parts that outright scared me, but like I do not remember like one moment where I was like actually where I was not unsettled by that movie.
No, it was. And it had these moments in between the twists and turns of the story where you were like paying really close attention to the surroundings, to the background, to like all of these other things. Like it was like sometimes things catch you off guard when you're watching scary movies. And that's kind of the point. You're not looking at them, you're looking at the people in the front. So everything in the background is meant to be this like added scary thing or this jump scare or whatever. But I found myself like really trying to find things like in the background of all of the stuff that's going on with this family and this documentary that they're doing. And it was really well done. And it seems to be one, though, it is one like specifically that I see people love or hated.
I can see why you'd hate it, because it's easy to like somewhere around the middle of it without ruining too much. It's easy to feel betrayed by it because it's like it pulls everything back. But if you stick with it, there's a payoff.
The payoff,
and I think that's the cinematography in that movie is a magic trick.
I think so
the
too.
Whole time, because you'll see the same shot, the same just camera shot down the hallway from 3 different perspectives at 3 different parts of the movie, and you'll see 3 entirely different shots.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant.
That was really good.
Thank you for not ruining it.
Yeah, don't worry. Oh, sorry, I totally forgot. This is what happens though. Like you start these conversations and you lose track of like you're like, oh, by the way, sorry, that's how the movie ends.
We didn't totally ruin it, right, Tasha? Like,
No, not at all. I think she'll still like it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think all things considered, we've been pretty good about not spoiling things.
Yeah, I think so too.
Really
no endings. We didn't ruin any. Tasha almost did. We didn't.
What about the ending of that one movie, huh?
Horrible.
Does it end exactly like this did?
Are you telling me that everyone dies in a found footage film? That's impossible. They're showing this at a film festival and winning a lot of awards, and everybody's happy, and nobody's.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming and hanging out and talking found footage. This was fun. Doing a movie a day was hard.
Yes.
It was rough.
I know, like,
fun.
Come to think of it, Carson's Winners Reunion Special is a great found footage style novella not many people have read. I don't know that one. Do you guys know that one?
No, I don't.
I do not know that one. I will have to.
What, Zach? You don't know this one?
I do not know that one. Andreas has sprung something upon me.
Yeah. I'll have to look. Yeah, I don't know what that one is either.
Right now to try to do a found footage horror story now.
I'm really excited. I haven't started Head Full of Ghosts. It's been on my list for 2 months now, but
we're in for a real trip there. Paul Tremblay is amazing.
He's great. Yeah.
It was so funny when I posted that I was watching it, or I'm not watching it, that I was getting ready to read it, that I had got it based on Brandon's like 5-star, like you gotta read this. Like like there was like all the people in the comments were like such a great piece of work, and there was like one person that was like, I didn't think it was that great.
There's always one.
There's always
always
one.
or two.
Always
It's
one.
like you in the A24 comments.
Look, there's at least
So I'm going ahead.
yeah. Well, and it's fine. I love people because I do this too. I have a lot of unpopular opinions. I love people that are like, nope, don't like it, because it's just so like everything does not work for everybody, and that's
Every book has its audience, and there's some people it doesn't work for, and that's okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
when we argue about Hereditary, Steve always says we cannot like the same things and still be friends.
Am I the guy right here that says I did not like Hereditary?
No! Oh my god!
Oh, you found one.
Yay! I'm
I
sorry.
wasn't
but that's
I
probably
was
so loud.
so bothered by that movie.
I
that I
hated
could
Hereditary.
I could not.
Testing me, people. You're testing me.
Sorry. He says
I think I might go as far as to say that's my least favorite movie I've ever seen.
Okay, Tom, you and me. Let's go.
I need to know why, though, Tom. Like, I need you to
oh,
dissect this
Tom
for me.
and I are besties. Sorry, Tasha. Well, he'll be
I
like my second
was-
bestie.
Because Tom does not want to hail payment,
It
apparently.
was too much. Like I watch so much horror. I watch. I was just upset by one specific scene. in that
There's
movie.
always the one scene. I want to know what
It's
there is.
always
And I-
the one scene, yeah.
I could not. Okay, so you haven't seen it, Brandon. I didn't.
No,
know
I've
that.
seen Hereditary. I know.
Oh no,
Oh.
yes.
And I'm honestly on the fence about it because
Yeah.
I think that there are parts of it that were executed incredibly well, and there are also parts of it that drag for me really hard. So
Yeah.
I want to hear your dissection.
I'm not even analyzing it as a film. I just was so torn out of the movie. I could not. I watched the whole thing,
Yeah.
but I could not enjoy a second of it after that.
Dang.
That scene.
The scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
The poll.
You can say that about Hereditary, and everybody knows exactly what you're talking
What
about.
scene you're talking about? That's so true. Yeah, I actually did you see Midsummer?
Nope, because of Hereditary, I wouldn't watch. And I watch everything, like every horror movie, everything on Shudder, but I would not watch that movie.
It's because I assume you know that means it's the same person. It's Ari Aster or whatever.
Yeah.
I think I'm saying that correctly, but yeah.
Sorry, yeah. I'm not as big on Midsummer just because, like, I like it, but I feel like it's inferior to like films like The Wicker Man in a sense. But I really think Florence Pugh gives like a fantastic performance in it.
Yeah, I did like her. Yeah,
I think it's a well done film, but like as far as folk horror goes, it's like it's more of a homage than I think. Like, I mean, when I think of like a great homage that like does its own thing, like one of my favorites is Ty West's House of the Devil.
Mm.
Oh, that's great.
Which is just like great, which has enough homages to like what came before, but does its own thing.
Its own thing.
Yeah.
I will say I liked Midsummer way more than Hereditary, and I didn't even really love Midsummer.
I think that's fair.
I saw that one first, and then I saw Hereditary after that.
Yeah.
Although my
give it a
favorite
try.
thing that sorry.
Nope, I just said I might give it a try. We'll see.
Just don't pay to watch it. Don't rent it.
I will.
Make sure. Oh, Tom, you are speaking my language.
Midsummer is like on like Prime anyway, so like you can probably like get it without like, paying any extra.
My
Yeah.
favorite thing that horror directors do is they'll hide stuff in the background of their movies. Like,
Yeah.
I love the Haunting of Hill House for that, the Netflix
That's a
series
good, yeah.
with all the hidden ghosts in it. And Midsummer does that, and I know a couple of shots where that happens, but there's this one part where they're carrying Florence Pugh, and I don't think I'm ruining anything because I'm telling you the literal very beginning of the movie, so it'll be ruined for you in the first 30 seconds. But her sister, Florence Pugh's sister, dies.
Yeah.
And it's this horrific thing, but it's got to do with her, sucking out of a hose out of a car exhaust.
Yeah.
And there's this moment where they're carrying Florence Pugh on this like wooden pallet or something like that, and she's standing and they're carrying her across, and it's this wide shot, and you can see the woods in the background. And the woods, if you stare at them hard enough, are shaped like her sister's dead face with the hose coming in.
What?
Love that stuff. I'll send you a screenshot.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to fast forward to that part.
Okay.
There are
Love it when they do that stuff.
Yeah, Hereditary just has some fantastic moments. Like, not Hereditary, Midsummer. I mean,
Yes.
Ari asked, probably like one of my favorite like new like of the new wave of horror directors is probably Robert Eggers so far too.
Yeah.
Plus, like as long as we're talking about that, like The Lighthouse, The Witch.
Oh, right. The Witches.
Yeah.
I love The Witch. That was great. Yeah.
No, I once.
You're losing me, Tom. You're losing me.
But I did not. Okay, then maybe this will upset you too. I did not like The Lighthouse at all.
I haven't actually seen The Lighthouse. I had a hard time. I have a hard time giving A24. The only reason I saw Midsummer is because it was on Tasha's list for influential horror. It's the only reason I watched it.
Okay.
I once transcribed the director's commentary of The Witch. That was a trip.
Holy crap.
You transcribed it?
Yes. One of my friends, he worked for a translation company, so they would kind of like throw me some work when I was like a hungry law student.
Oh, okay.
And it was like, you got to write all this down so we can translate it for subtitles.
Yeah.
So I would like they would send me copies of the movies with the director's commentary playing, and I would
That's
just
kinda
take
cool,
down everything I
yeah.
heard.
Well, that made more sense. I was just like, Zach, you know,
A hobby I've never heard of before.
I'm a writer. I already have a weird hobby.
Fair.
Yeah, I think so. Even though I didn't like The Witch, I will say this. I watch I don't know if anybody else watches Dead Meats or Dead Meat. He's a YouTube channel that does, he's actually pretty big now. He actually had a cameo in the new Scream movie. Talk about YouTube goals. But he does kill counts for horror movies where he goes through the movie and he talks about the kill count, everybody that dies in the movies, and does like pie charts and everything. But he does it in kind of like a fun and quirky kind of way. But he talks about a lot of stuff, like behind the scenes kind of stuff, things you might not know. And one of the things that I respect the hell out of that has to do with The Witch that I didn't know when I watched most of it was that all of the lighting in the film is period correct. They did not use modern lighting in any of the sequences and any of the the scenes.
Did she use like a boatload of candles or what? Like,
Yes.
Yep.
Wow.
Yes.
Damn.
And that I mean, I have mad respect for that because
Very
like
cool.
That
Here's
is
something
cool.
really funny about that one. Like one thing I will always remember he said, the goat who played Black Phillip, there was one person he hated, and that was the guy playing the father, Ralph Ineson. On the second day of filming, the goat Charlie charges him, breaks his ribs.
Oh my
he's
God.
filming the rest of that movie in agonizing pain, like the scene where he's chopping the firewood. He was doing that with broken ribs.
Oh, my God.
Bobby Eggers is like such a nice guy about like all his actors. Like he like legitimately loves the people he works with. But like they were getting together, like he says like Ralph and I were getting together at like a pub in England after, and he says like everyone is talking about the goat, and Ralph just goes, fucker.
I heard he was a little difficult to work with. Actually, I'd heard that before. Yeah, I didn't know that though. That's crazy.
Like, can you train a goat? I'm not really sure you can at this point.
Like,
They say animals are a great judge of character, so
that's
Like, he
true.
was also saying, like, when he was meeting Willem Dafoe, he's like thinking, like, oh my God, this man is my fucking hero. Like, I worship the ground you walk on, but like, I can't make a movie with you if you're like that because, like, I can't tell you what to do. And then he meets Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe's like the most chill, down to earth guy. He's like, yeah, you tell me what to do, I'll do it. We'll make a great movie. He's like, thank you. Now we can work together.
Yeah.
I will say though, the dad from The Witch, man, it makes sense that he was performing while in pain because his whole thing in that was just
It really does. I was just
Yeah.
thinking the same thing. It
Yeah.
really
As
does.
Laurence Olivier once said, try acting, son. It's much easier.
I didn't know that. That's crazy. I think like I can see these movies and appreciate them as an art and not like ever want to see them again is usually what I say. Because like
Oh yeah.
and the thing that I think annoys me the most about A24 movies, regardless of who is the person actually making the movie, is that I almost always really like the endings. But God, the journey to the ending is exhausting sometimes.
There's one you may like. There's a couple you may like. They're not like in the style of Robert Eggers and like Ari Aster. The Monster from A24 is really good. and A Hole in the Ground, which
I haven't seen either of those.
Which
I want
is-
to see A Hole in the Ground though.
A
I've heard
Hole
of
in the
it.
Ground is I really enjoy it because I just love like the dark Irish Celtic, dark mythology there.
Yeah, I haven't seen either of those.
It's a really well done movie. So let me think. So what's everyone got coming up? Like what's everyone working on next?
Yeah.
Oh god.
What movie or
In life,
Movie-
what are you doing in
movie,
life?
Life, like what's
lots of writing, like 5 different. I'm not typically a multitasker, but ever since I finished my last book, I can't sort of hang on one thing. I've been bouncing from one thing
Yeah.
I'm drafting to the next. So
So
actually, though, it's funny. There is something I'm working on that is sort of inspired by found footage.
nice.
Probably my next book, I would say.
Okay.
I promise you, by the way, I'm so gonna buy Malevolent Nevers. I just
You
have it
should.
from
You
Stoker
should.
right now. It's like it's totally on my list.
Yeah.
just got-
I just finished it.
I
Yeah.
am. I saw that. Like I love Gemma's artwork, and
So
I'm
you met? I've never met Gemma.
Yeah.
so
Very
gracious
cool.
and kind and awesome. Told her how much I loved her stuff. Talked to her about it. She is just the best. Her and
I bet.
she was there with Red Lake with Red Lago.
Yep.
I hope I'm pronouncing right.
Yeah.
They are just they're really awesome people. Like I met them, Todd Kiesling,
Very cool.
just great,
Yeah.
just great folks.
It was kind of funny because when I made Gemma's book, it's driving me crazy. When I made 6 Rooms my book of the month for last month, I also knew we were doing this, and I had already read Brandon's anthology, and I was like, I need to read something by Tom, but the other thing was the trilogy. So I was like, let me do the new one. So I got the new one, and it was funny because I got 6 Rooms in the mail. Around the same time I got Malevolent Nevers, which was the cover is done by Gemma. And then I got Dead Inside. She also did the cover for that. So it was like everything I got in the course of a week was like Gemma.
She is really a great talent and just like such a wonderful human being. Like
She seems awesome. Yeah.
And I'm so looking forward to seeing her again at the Stanley Cup.
AuthorCon was her first trip to the States, wasn't it?
It was.
Yes, it was her first trip to the States.
She's coming,
Yep.
I'm going to see her again in May when she's coming to the StokerCon. I'm going to the Stanley
nice.
Cup.
I'm debating that. I've been debating whether or not to do that.
Dude, there's like 10 tickets. There's like only a few tickets left. If you're going to do it, I totally recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, I literally, I honestly, I have the time of my life at Scares Like Care.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I will say this. So I I'm going to read The Glowing, which is Tom's trilogy, but I will just take the second to say that I really enjoyed Malevolent Nevers, and I really loved Those We Left Behind and Other Sacrifices by Brandon. Like those are, huh?
I'm so going to check out yours too, Brandon. I've heard great things about it.
Yes,
I'm
it's
really excited for that.
both. Yeah.
Speaking of awesome cover art, Brandon, that's I don't know who did that.
I've seen it.
Oh, hold
Do you
on.
have one? Grab it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine, I don't know where mine is. Probably over there.
I can make like a
Oh,
shameless.
good.
Awesome.
There we go.
I got one story accepted recently. Like I'm not entirely sure I can say where because they haven't told me I could, but they haven't told me I couldn't.
Yeah.
So I'm just not, I'm not just going to risk like saying it on air yet, but I'm like really excited because it's my first acceptance ever.
Well, congrats, man.
That's
It's part of-
awesome.
You want
That's
to
awesome.
funny little story? I was actually like working on a second one for like the same company. So obviously I was at StokerCon, and I was like, oh, I'm having a really good writing day. I'm going to finish this one today. I check out, like they actually said, like, we received such a volume of stories, we actually had to move the date like up and close it early. So I'm like,
oh, bummer.
damn.
Yeah.
I was like, well, so the next ones I'm working on. I'm working on one for an upcoming one for Death Knell Press, and one for the Hungry Shadows one.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And Brandon, you're doing not doing, but what's the best way to say that? You have an anthology thing that you're
Yeah,
kind of,
I'm editing an anthology right
Yeah.
now. Actually, I am
Nice.
Press.
Oh,
That
I
is me.
did not know that. So-
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Zach, didn't you say you were doing the one that I shared? That was Brandon.
Yeah, yeah.
I did not know. Yes, no, I'm working on one for the bad horror cliche one.
Yeah. And Andreas, I was going to bring that up. Christopher Castillo Diaz did the illustration for
Oh
my
my God, I
book.
love it.
The front.
That is a
for that.
fantastic illustration. That's like giving me like
Yeah,
it's like giving me pure Dead Space vibes. I say that as like
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Christopher is absolutely brilliant, and I found him on. Weirdly enough, I was just like, I don't know, I don't know how to find cover artists, so I just went and I ended up on Fiverr, and he has a listing on Fiverr, and he and I talked, and he ended up doing, because he does a lot of like black and white or ink drawing, like heavy metal album covers mostly, and he's a Peruvian artist. He's from Peru, and so I saw his work, and he did a couple of the drawings that had like a lot of tentacles, for lack of a better word, and I wanted this, this is what I wanted. And I loved his work with that kind of art, and so I just reached out to him, and he ended up doing a full oil painting for the cover, and
it's stunning. I love it.
He's absolutely brilliant. Yeah,
there's some great artists working in the horror community, like just people who just go entirely unsung. Like I know Todd Kiesling, in addition to being a great artist, he does artwork and does commission for cover art. That's fantastic. Matt Seth Barnes, who I always have to give a shout out to because that man,
I love him. Yes.
He did a cover art for like one edition of like one of my favorite horror novels, The Sire of the Spectre.
Yeah.
He does really good work. I like him a lot.
And Brandon, I had no idea that you were on Three Shadows. Actually.
That's so funny.
Don't worry, dude. It's all good. Send me your story. I'm looking forward to it. For that one, I just posted the cover for that one the other day, and I don't have.
Oh, that's so awesome.
I copy of it. I can't hold it up, but
it looks so good.
Yeah. Evangeline Gallagher is the name of the artist.
Without like saying anything about content, like that inspired me. I was just like, I had a friend who I was just thanking. I was like, you just gave me an idea for a great story that I just like so want to write, like about a bad, like I just love the idea of bad horror cliches done right. It's awesome.
I love it. No, it's great. I'm excited about it. While we're on the subject of covers, before you I was actually going to ask you this because I've read Malevolent Nevers. Did she read anything to come up with that cover, or did you tell her, like Gemma, when she did it?
Yeah. She hadn't read the book. No, we talked. I basically gave her many different ideas. Of what I wanted it to look like. We went back and forth mostly over email, and that's what she came up with. So it was pretty awesome.
I thought it was perfect. I mean, just because I've read it. So I'm picturing there are parts where we're in different parts of the house that I'm like, I bet this is the part of the house that does it was so easy to kind of
What's so interesting is it looks like a house that could really be in this town. And there are people that live in the town that the book is set who are like, is that this house? And Gemma, of course, lives in the UK. So and she still kind of came up with that, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. No, I loved it. I just wanted to ask that. I didn't know if she got to read it early and it was came up with the ideas based on what you had put in the story, or
she had a synopsis, but no, she had not read
I was just curious. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's on my to-do list.
I started Malevolent Nevers just a few nights ago too, Tom. So
thank you. I really appreciate it.
That's a good one.
I'm gonna check that one out. Honestly, I really Malevolent Nevers. I'm getting closer and closer to it. That, and I'm putting yours in. I literally unfortunately I'd just spend probably $600 on books at the
It's ridiculous. I'm not even a big reader like you guys. I just cannot keep up. I also don't look at how many pages there are. So when I got Malevolent Nevers, for someone who doesn't read a lot, I was like, shit. But then I started reading it, and before I knew it, I was halfway through it, and I was like, okay, well, and it was actually the same way with 6 Rooms by Gemma. I got it, and I was like, I picked 2 giant books to read this book. And I ended up just flying through them. I couldn't believe it. But I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they were really good, that I really enjoyed them. But I was like, man, they're monsters.
It's the longest thing I've written. Since then, I've just written short stories. I pumped out a bunch, which I hadn't done for a long time, but I felt I needed to switch it up a little bit. So we'll see. But the next one I think is going to have a foundation in found footage. It's going to feel like
that's exciting.
At least,
that's
That's awesome.
Cool.
I have I've mostly been doing short stories. We actually, me and my friend and co-writer, we actually wrote a fantasy novel that we have with an editor we hired right now who's going through that. Mm-hmm. So we're fixing that up as we go. I also have ideas I want to do for a horror novel or two. So I'm just want to finish like up some more short stories and star in the novel. I got like some amazing advice from like the talks I had like some of the authors this weekend.
Oh,
and,
I
like,
bet. Yeah.
And there were so many people there who I'd never heard of. I'm like, I just want to support everyone and buy as many books as I can.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And I had to like rearrange my luggage and like throw away a few.
I'm throwing out clothes. I don't buy new clothes when I get home.
I just need books.
That's and that's something like that I feel like comes up pretty often when we talk to people in this community, like no matter who it is like just how like warm everybody is. Yeah. So like I learned, that Brandon was self-published, and he so I reached out and I asked and was like asking questions about it. And like you were so like, you were just like, here's this knowledge that I have, like, and I'll be honest with you, like having ran a totally different type of YouTube channel, it is not like that everywhere. And like you come here and everybody's like, yeah, let me tell you how I did this or where I got this from, or and it's crazy. Like everybody's just willing to be like supportive and helpful, and I love it. It's great.
It's how it was done for me, because I was I was writing on Medium, just like throwing random stories out.
Tasha writes on Medium.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I was writing on Medium for the longest time, and just putting out whatever I could. And then actually, like half the stories in this book were stories that I wrote for Medium, and have just been kind of revamped. But then I found the horror Twitter community really is where I cross over with everybody. It's the Twitter piece of it.
It's the best.
And everybody there has just been so forthcoming with this is how you do this, and this is how you do that, and these are the cover artists, and these are I got so much information from people, and I probably had that sort of negative misconception of being self-published before I went through the process of it myself, because I was like, oh, nobody's gonna take it seriously, nobody's gonna care about it, and it just really wasn't that way, at least in this little insular spot. I know there are people who are like, self-published novels are crap, but I know those people exist, but not around me, not in my bubble, and it's really, really cool.
It's got to be a mentality that's changing, I feel like, because
it is. Todd Kiesling actually told me, like, I was telling him like there was a novel I wanted to self-publish, and like maybe I could like contact him about doing artwork or promotion for it. And he said, like, just about everyone in this room has self-published at some point or another. Like literally just about every author in that room at just like at a certain point. And that was we all saw what went down with one publisher over the weekend.
That was a lot to come back to, but
like one thing I will never forget when that was going down, Todd Kiesling's Devil's Creek, which is critically acclaimed, Stoker nominated, that was published by that press, and that was ended up orphaned. Brian Keene, like just on like the day that happened, he goes out to the floor. He like had a megaphone out, and he goes like, "Can every author with Silver Shamrock raise their hand?" And he goes, "I just want everyone to know, like those books have like the rights have reverted back to them because of what happened with the publisher. So if everyone could like go to those authors and please buy their books," which was just so classy and cool, and like Sina Paleo and and others were just posting like resources for those authors for
other. I've seen a lot of that.
Really,
it
really is a very supportive. It really is a very supportive community. Like it really is terrific.
Those We Left Behind is actually always going to kind of have a special place for me, because I started like my new thing is because I just joined Twitter in October.
Yeah.
So
I remember when you were saying hi to everybody. Hi.
Hi, Tasha.
Story too.
So I decided that like my thing this year, well, it's probably going to be a thing forever, but I wanted to start collecting signed copies of books from people that I interact with. And one thing that I ask everybody to do is to put a piece of writing advice in there, whether it's serious, funny, whatever. And Those We Left Behind is actually the first one I got. And I've gotten a few since then, but it's just, in terms of just like how supportive everybody is, like everybody is so excited to do that. And, you can, regardless of what you want to do, there's somebody out there who's going to talk to you about it.
Yeah. And you have to think too, like I'm not a huge reader. I'm not a writer, but even as a horror content creator outside of the world that you guys live in, open arms. Like my growth and the things that I have seen in the last 6-7 months have all been from the Twitter horror writing indie community. Like, like it's all been from you guys. Like Brian Keene is a great guy, heart in the right place. Yeah, he seems awesome. I haven't obviously met him, but he seems nice.
Brian, look, I will just never forget. Like, he was one of the first people I met there. I walked in and he's right, he was like right there when we first arrived. I say like, hey, I'm Orb on Twitter. He's like, hey man, come here, let's get a selfie.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Immediately they knew what
yeah.
The first guy I met was actually Jonathan Johns, who was like one of my favorite, living my favorite horror writers ever now. He's walking out into the hall and he's very distinctive. He wears his hair a certain way. He's a very handsome guy. He walks out and he's so he's saying hi to people. I'm in line to get my my wristband and everything, and I'm saying hi. I'm like, Mr. Johns. I'm starstruck. He's one of my heroes, and I'm I pull down my mask and I'm Orb from Twitter, and he's like, do you let people hug you? We're being hugged by my freaking idol, and I go
That's
up.
Crazy.
I'm great. I'm so nervous at first. But by the end of the night, I'm talking about Big Trouble in Little China with Christopher Triana.
Yeah.
That's great, man.
Yeah. No, I'm a big fan of the community. It's just crazy. I just didn't. I don't think social media is one of those things that I loathe, but I understand it's a necessity when you're trying to build things like this. And it's one of those things that I don't really hate anymore because I feel like I've met a lot of really great people. I've made some really good friends. It's one of
ready for the show, Tasha. She is a fan. If anyone's watching this and needs some editing work,
Tasha. Yeah, hit Tasha up.
I gave her one year that I haven't heard back from yet, but she did a great job on it. And I am
Tasha's the shit.
Accepted or rejected, I have nothing but great things to say about what she did for this story.
Oh, that's so sweet. It's been really exciting because I just kind of leapt into it feet first in October on Fiverr actually. And I just completed my 26th order and I've done novels and tarot cards and
Yeah.
Terrible.
I guilt her into doing things for me sometimes, but I pay her in t-shirts. It's fine.
Yeah, I just got a call for Flame Tree was doing a gothic Christmas horror story. And I was like, Tasha, can you look at this one for me just so I can get the other side about it?
It was a really good story. If somebody doesn't accept that, they're special. Shame on them. Shame on them.
Shame on them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Basically, I just found myself making just a big spreadsheet of okay, here's all the calls, here's when they're due, here's
oh my god, there's so many right now too. Yeah.
There are crazy many for them. So I'm just really excited with some of these ideas. And honestly, one thing I love about me too is telling even when you get rejections, I submitted one for the Human Monsters anthology from Sadie Hartman. They passed on, but they sent me the nicest refusal I'd ever gotten. It was they're it was a privilege to read your work. We're not going ahead with finds a home elsewhere. I'm how can I be mad at that? That's still
it's
really
so kind and yeah.
You don't always get that.
It's true.
Yeah.
I feel like we could tell horror stories now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I love the community. It's really something. It's really supportive. I'm really just proud to be a part of it.
Yeah. No, I am too. We're coming up on the 2-hour mark, so we'll probably wrap up. But it's been so much fun talking to you guys about, especially because I love found footage. And I've watched so many cool ones, and y'all giving me a list 50 more to go see, which is super exciting. So, and I know
I will just close by saying my last comments. Watch. Sorry, I'm watch her show, hire her for edits, buy her books. I'm everything is reversed. I'm trying to figure it out.
Which way to point? Yeah. And I know it's super hard to schedule things like this. So thank you guys for taking the time to come do it. I really
absolutely anytime.
Thanks for the invite. Fun. Yeah. And if anyone finds a found footage movie that's scarier than the Ganjam Haunted Asylum, I want to know about it.
Yeah, seriously, me
Yeah.
too.
I don't think there is one, honestly. That is legitimately the scariest one I think I've ever
It's
seen.
so scary.
I was so tense the whole time I was watching it because I put it on. I was like, "The heck is this?" I'd never heard of it before, and I just saw it. I was like, "Ganjam Haunted Asylum." Haunted Asylum sounded a little cheesy to me, but I was like, "All right,
Yes.
well, let's see what's going on." And I put it on, and I was so tense the entire time.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah.
Y'all are building me up to this, man.
You gotta see it. It is my highest viewed review on Facebook.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like it's got tons of views, and I didn't do anything to it. Like I didn't boost it or anything, but every time I check it, it's like more and more. Like people are either searching for it or looking into watching it, or it's a really good. And the guy that owns that asylum, the building that it's supposed to be about, because they actually filmed. Fun fact: they actually filmed in a school. Because the person who owned it wouldn't let them film in the actual building because of bad publicity, but
Oh.
it still ended up affecting him anyway, and he couldn't like sell it. It was like this huge deal. And the makers of the movie got sued and almost weren't able to release it, but the courts were like, no, that's stupid, and they got to release it. So just a new appreciation for what they went through to get that movie out to us.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
It's good. But yeah, thank you guys so much. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was nice to finally meet you guys.
Yeah,
nice to meet you all.
Yeah,
thank you for having me.
yeah, of course.
Likewise.
All right. Well, you guys have a good rest of your night. It's late. Everybody on the East Coast?
Just like
It's 11. That's after 11.
Yeah,
Yeah.
too. Okay. All right, cool. Well,
But
you
it's
guys have a
Friday
good rest
night.
of your night. For you, it's Friday night for you. It's Tuesday for everybody else, Tasha. I got work in the morning.
have fun with that.
Yeah, right. Thanks. All right. Well, you guys, y'all have a good night. Thanks for
Good
coming.
You too.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.